Hey everyone, I'm Jay.
And I'm Sean.
And we watched a movie.
Yes, as we do.
Yeah, actually I watched a movie. I'm sorry, dear.
Couldn't wait.
Yeah. Hillbilly Elegy has just dropped on Netflix, though it has been in limited theaters for an Oscar qualifying run. Here it is, finally on Netflix. So, what's it about? It is in fact based on the best-selling book you may know of the same name by J.D. Vance. And it's sort of an autobiography of sorts, sort of a tribute to not just his hometown certainly, but his way of life, the way he grew up.
The hillbilly way?
The hill people way, let's say.
Okay.
So what does hillbilly mean to you, Sean? Let's get ready. I'm trying this out. It's a new feature on the channel where I just throw out a slur and you just spitball the stereotypes you associate with it. So go. Yeah. Hillbilly.
Okay.
What does that mean?
I do think of someone from a small town in kind of the U.S., not right on the coast, but not too far west either.
Okay.
But it's just making moonshine, driving pickup trucks, shooting guns, having fun.
All right. Good to know. I'm fascinated that so much of that was geographical for you.
It is, yeah.
Okay.
It's like Kentucky way.
It is Kentucky way. So as this guy always likes to say, he grew up in Ohio, but his people are from Kentucky. Okay. From the Appalachian area specifically. Yeah. So they call themselves hill people. He is the one to adopt the hillbilly moniker, obviously. He titled the book. But apparently they don't like redneck.
Okay.
Yeah, it's interesting, I guess, to know which one is all right and which one is not. But I guess you get to own whichever one, and
I guess you do.
Mm-hmm. So yes, he and his family are hillbillies. So we start off. We kind of see two versions of J.D. Vance: a sort of little boy, 12, 13-year-old version, and then a more grown-up, like late 20s version. So the little boy, JD, is played by Owen Asztalos, and the bigger one is played by Gabriel Basso. Both very good JDs. But JD had kind of a rough life. So when we meet him as kind of a grown-up young man, he is in law school at Yale. So we understand that he's had some success. He's gotten places. It's still not easy for him. He's working 3 jobs. He has financial aid and he still can't afford the tuition bill for next year without
Yale law. Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah, without a summer internship. So it's interview week. All of the big firms are hanging out around Yale trying to figure out which one of these up-and-comers they should start recruiting. But he feels out of his depth around these people. He doesn't even know what cutlery to use at the dinners or what kind of wine to ask for. Which, I don't know if that was your interview experience, Sean.
Oh, it's a really fun time, actually. They do wine and dine you.
Oh, okay.
Absolutely.
You didn't go to Yale.
I didn't even have to go to Yale to get wine and dine. So take that, JD.
Oh.
But yes, it is like it was 3 days, and you fill up your calendar of all of these events that they're having, and they all do involve something cool.
Oh, something
Because they're trying to woo you.
Okay.
They're trying to impress you with how amazing this firm will be. Okay. And then when you actually start to work there, none of this happens.
So note to law students, the fun dries up real quick.
Yeah, while you're a student though, live it up, because that is a lot of fun. They took us to all sorts of restaurants, they took us to shows, they took us to events.
Wow.
Yeah, we went out on something like at least once a month.
Wow.
Where it would just be us plus the people on the student committee the reason to be on the student committee is so you could be invited to these
Oh,
special
these
events
things.
because
Wow.
no other lawyers got to go.
Oh,
Yeah.
nice.
Yeah. But yeah, it is. That's a real thing.
Okay. And did you ever feel out of your depth?
No.
Okay. So you could hang with.
Yeah, I felt no issues. I mean, the biggest thing was we went to a nice sushi restaurant. I had never had good sushi, so I was like, is this going to be okay? And it was.
And it was. Terrific.
That was it. That was the most out of my depth I felt.
Okay. Did you ever yell at one of the lawyers trying to recruit you?
No, I did not ever
Okay,
yell at
because
them.
that's what happens to JD. Because he's so nervous, and his girlfriend over the cell phone, because she's not there, is giving pointers of like which side to put your bread on, and
Okay.
you know.
Yeah.
But he does get called a redneck, I think, and he snaps at one of the lawyers. And did I say how badly he needs this job to pay for school?
You did.
And then he leaves. He leaves the dinner. And, you know, it's a very quick few days of seeing all these people because his mom is sick in the hospital. So her sister, Lindsay, played by Haley Bennett, is calling him home quite urgently. Mom is in the hospital. So this is bad timing, of course, and I'm sure it would be a difficult decision for anyone to make. Whether to leave during this kind of crucial time and possibly something that would steer the rest of your career if things go well. But he goes home because Lindsay doesn't have anyone else, and Mom, Bev, played by Amy Adams, is in the hospital because she's just OD'd. So guess what? Mom's doing heroin again. And so he goes back and he basically has 24 hours there to get his mom into a rehab facility, kind of against her will and without any money, because of course she's left her insurance to lapse. Not that that's even all that helpful a lot of the time.
Right.
Before he has to get back for an interview the next day from the only firm to have called him in. Kind of important.
That's his one shot.
Yeah. So while he's there, he's sort of flooded with memories growing up with a mom who clearly was not stable. He lived a lot of the time with his mama. I don't know, I'm not a hillbilly. It's his grandmother, his mother's mother, played by Glenn Close. Mama, that's it.
That sounds right.
Mama. And so Mama lives in one house, and then they live like 3 doors down, and then Papa, played by Bo Hopkins, lives a few doors down further than that. So Mama got pregnant at 13 and ran away from home with her boyfriend, and apparently that romance did not work out. And yet here they are still living on the same street.
Yeah. Small
Still
town life.
vacationing together. That's right. And so it's a strange family situation, one that I can't say I related to all that well. But it is taking everyone to raise these 2 kids who are not bad kids whatsoever. It's just everyone else, all the adults are so flaky. And Glenn Close is doing her best to fill in the gaps that her daughter, Bev, is leaving. Because Bev is dating around, trying to find a man with a spare bedroom in his home. You know,
Yep.
priorities. Everybody's Prince Charming list. And yeah, doing a lot of drugs and basically having a series of outbursts. Because she grew up in a bad house where mom and dad were fighting and abusing each other and setting each other on fire. And obviously they came from such bad homes that they ran away and moved to another state. There is generations of trauma in this family. And it is no surprise that it is a tough place to grow up. So what surprised me is, like I said, it was in theaters quickly for an Oscar qualifying run, but critics really tore it apart. A lot of the reason was they found it a little superficial. Like, it doesn't really comment on the economical or cultural sort of impacts that are clearly present in the system for a family like this to constantly have not just fallen in the cracks, but lived in the cracks the entire time. And how hard it would be to pull yourself out of that crack. Because we know, like, this guy, he joined the army, I think it was, right out of high school to pay for state college. And now that he's at Yale, people look down on the state college. They look down on his upbringing, but also treat it as a novelty. Isn't he interesting? Like, nobody else there can tell these stories. But yeah, does that mean they respect him?
No.
Right.
He is the curiosity.
And he knows that. So he has this very sweet girlfriend at college at Yale named Usha, played by Freida Pinto. And he hasn't told her anything about his family. So when he disappears from this very important dinner, out of town, road trip, she has no idea that he is, an unstable mother who's been in and out of rehab facilities, and it's, a secret he has been keeping from his sweet and innocent girlfriend. So, yeah, we get a good view of the Appalachian family values. That's not meant to be a joke, I'm sorry. Clearly they do have a specific way of life, and they do obviously rely heavily on each other. They've needed to. They've stayed close together even though they are not a cohesive family unit anymore. And they've, scrambled to make sure that these kids are raised somewhat. But it has not been easy on anyone. So I think at the end of the day, this kid has the choice whether to sort of throw away his life like he believes his mama did. That she basically put herself on the ground trying to rescue her daughter constantly. So is he going to do that with his life, or is he going to turn his back on his mother and go back to Yale? So that's not really a choice most of us will have to face.
No, it's not.
And so I think that there is a very interesting story here as to why there's a certain population that has been in this crack for so long, and why no one's doing very much to help them out. And, it's a way of life in part, but this is not a choice that people are making to live in trauma and addictions and poverty. So it's kind of sad, and that's, I guess, why he has called it an elegy. The movie posters have splashed all over the inspiring true story, but I'm not really sure what's supposed to be inspiring. In fact, I find that a little bit condescending, to say, look at this guy, he escaped his childhood. And I think we maybe need to not blame the childhood so much as the system. And why do we have to look down on him? And to always not just congratulate him for where he is today, but reflect on how far he had to come.
Yeah, that's the American dream, right? Is you rose up despite us stacking everything against you. So congratulations, but by the way, you're still not really part of our club. Right.
And we're congratulating the one guy who was able to stand on everyone else's shoulders and do it. And he gives credit to all these women in his life, his mom, his grandmother, his sister, who all sacrificed for him. But they're all still in the gutter.
Yeah.
So, that inspiring true story, there's a lot of actually dispiriting, sad, heartbreaking elements in it. It's not really, I think, an inspiring true story.
No.
And if you're reading it that way, you're probably reading it wrong.
Missing the point.
Yeah. So I definitely can see the criticisms are valid. I still think it's worth a watch, perhaps even just for the performances alone. Glenn Close and Amy Adams are unrecognizable. They are so stripped down of their former beauties queen selves. Although I do always like a reminder like this when we see stars without makeup and hairstylists, and to be like, oh, That's
They're
that's
just people.
right.
Yeah.
They're not super glamorous all the time either. So, but yeah, I wouldn't even be able to say hillbilly necessarily, but they're definitely have the look of poverty and lack of care, lack of time. And I mean, even addictions will show on your face.
Yeah, absolutely.
And smoking and
Yeah,
anxiety.
it's tough.
It is a rough life, and it takes its toll.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's very compelling performances out of them. Their characters, I felt, are not whole people. I feel like the book was really giving us, it's an autobiography, so it's not trying to give a whole narrative. It's an observation of a certain time and place of these people and how they lived. A movie usually needs more than that if it's not a documentary, and I don't really think Ron Howard, the director, I don't know if I mentioned that yet.
No, he didn't.
I'm not sure if he really knew how to do that without just relying on the old rags to riches trope. So there are some missteps, and I definitely think these two women, their characters are not full characters. In fact, Amy Adams is really just a collection of ferocious attacks. We just see her fly off the handle so often. So the teeth come out. It's a big, scary thing, and you can definitely appreciate how, as a kid, you would never feel a strong, safe sense of attachment from a mother who can turn so quickly. And he had genuine fear a lot of the time. But even his grandmother, who would take him in, Glenn Close is like serving up the tough love is so mild for what this woman is. But it starts to feel like almost just a quote machine or something. Like it's just one note, her character. She just doesn't have a pleasant thing to say ever. I don't think she's a mean person, but I just think life has been hard, and she thinks everyone should know that and expect that and never get anything good, because why confuse them? So, although the performances are super strong, the characters are maybe not feeling like real people. We don't understand their motivations as much. And I think maybe theirs is the more interesting and important stories, but we are getting it from the one in the family who went to Yale. So his experience is different. And I don't think he can fully appreciate what the women in his family have gone through. So I think Ron Howard has dressed it up and used some themes that Hollywood is quite familiar with. And it's not quite as satisfying as you would like. But I do think it is worth a watch. It is not a terrible film. It just doesn't really, maybe there's the guilt of the privileged, of looking at this poverty porn basically and not really knowing what we're allowed to say about it or think about it, or how culpable we should feel that people in our own backyards in our own country live this way.
Culpable. Yep.
I always think it is worthwhile to peep through someone's windows. Ooh, not literally, guys, don't worry. I don't like getting my shoes dirty, so rest assured from that alone. I do it purely from film. But it is nice to see other people's lifestyles, and I think that's why we all come onto YouTube too, because
that's true.
We get a window into everyone's living room without getting our shoes dirty. Welcome to ours.
Yeah.
That's right. Hillbilly Elegy, it is on Netflix right now, so feel free to check it out and let us know what you thought. Thanks for watching, everyone. Bye.
Bye.